Hey, good morning, America, afternoon, London, UK, and welcome to another episode of our small account challenge, trading all this Russia, Ukraine news that's going on in the world, which is really cool at the moment, kind of overriding any other news events. And that's why I decided to do a live stream today, because there is no kind of normal economic kind of quiet day. So obviously we're fully focused on what's happening in Ukraine, and this is what is affecting the markets, either positively or negatively. As you can see here, though, we did grab some trades on this consumer confidence news this morning on the DAX, some sales on, and then caught the counter, went on highs as well. That was pretty good. It was a good start today. And we've done a bit of gold scalping in the meantime, as gold broke here again on the news, or bad news. I had to get RSI break. And hopefully on a buy as we test this. Quite convinced we broke. See, time for it gets back 1913. So nice gentle pullback, and then see what happened in Ukraine yesterday. Caused a bit of range and then back. So we'll see on the open how we're going to do this. And obviously we're doing our small account, which is with RC markets. Okay, you can see that. There you go. Count, and $126.35 from a 30 start. We'll be trading 0.03 lot sizes now. See, there's the margin required. £8 by dollars. You know, 3 cents a pip value. It gives you an idea. So what that does, that means that you can enter multiple trades, which you do 2 to 4 trades. And I've still got leverage and margin available. You can counteract that, take a bad trade, so I can get out of it. So it's not a case of one trade, I risk everything in the account. I've got room for error, room for maneuver. That's the whole idea about not going too high on your lot size, even if your leverage is 1-500. That's what you need. 200, 500. But it's all about the lot size. Too high, and yes, your gains could be good. So if you go wrong with that, trade out, you'll be stopped out. That's how so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, we've liked banks for a while. A lot of the story was steepen curve, credit reserve.
Got about 6-7 minutes before open. Not going to put any trades in before we see a movement. We're just going to see which way. Looking at the pattern of gold are
a little bit more. I just want to get back to one other point though, regarding the Fed. Like my concern,
but what we've had for Monax.
Normal recession right now. Like what tools does the Fed have? We have to
trend line. See now, I'm sat right on it. Average price dipping. So basically, it's the centre of an M. It will go either way.
And if we have a recession in 2024,
get this
2025, wherever, the Fed has some ammunition to
back.
get out of it.
Clinton Warren, the conversation continues with Tony
Hoping for
and Aaron Brown.
so it could down on the O.
Falling nearly 50% from a
Let's drop.
September high. More on Facebook still ahead from New York.
Is right.
This is Bloomberg.
The open could be like this.
We're the realists.
We're the advocates.
We're the grinders.
We're the walks you've always hoped
About
were
5
out
minutes.
there.
We've taken everything we've learned from our company and we've
Economic calendar. They got a Bank of England speech later.
We're the builders of
Crude oil trading will trade.
Racers to anyone who says this
Texas later.
And if you're the first in and the last out,
We'll be right there with you.
Again, been some pullbacks on the actual on stocks, mostly because sanctions against Russia were not deemed harsh. Markets around it.
When you think space, you probably
But that can all change. This is a good thing. Another announcement, and
one space
things
agency that travels under the radar is ESA,
gold, obviously, primarily historically safe havens.
which is
Bad news,
surprising
like
considering what the European Space Agency has achieved and how vital it is to the global space industry.
Be the prop, and same with seeing on gas and oil. Germany cancelling that
To be a leading force in
pipeline between Germany and Russia yesterday. You know, kind of thing will gas prices. We'll keep an eye on that as well. But like I say, with our small account, I'm still going to focus still on gold. What I'm going to make sure I do is cover 16, about 16-17 cents is the entry commission. Okay, so you're talking about 40 cents. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you're in a trade, you're 40 cents in profit, you end that trade, you'll be zero. Going to cover that plus any spread. Got to make sure at least hitting $1 on my trades to end. Got to take that into consideration with gold. That's why we like trading indices, because you don't have to. Indices, it's just the spread with Forex pairs and gold. And that can vary.
That January 3rd high, at the moment a bounce back on the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Russell, the S&P up by 0.8%. Yields bouncing back too in the last 24 hours. Look at this, yields up at the front end by 4 basis points, on 10s by 3. The curve just a little flatter here. The distance between 2s and 10s narrower. That's one to watch as we approach the first rate hike of the Fed. We're not there yet. That's the price action here in the morning calls. Let's kick things off with Raymond James, upgrading Intel to market perform without a price target. Seeing limited room for further downside following its recent declines. That stock is up by about 1% to 45.20. Deutsche Bank downgrading Rockspace to a hold, expecting margins to remain under pressure following its quarterly results. That stock is down and down hard. And finally, Piper Sandler,
Facebook erasing nearly half its value.
highlighting a strengthening balance sheet and
I love it.
favorable macro backdrop. That stock up by almost 2%. Coming up, a rough February for big tech. Facebook erasing nearly half its value in just 5 months. That conversation just around the corner from New York City. This is Bloomberg.
See what we get. We've got 3-4 minutes to go. It looks centre M, perfect pattern. Bounced off that points of it. Like I say, information on how to join the group is at www.mohawk.com for want to get access to our trading system and to Scalp. Do and join the team. description. Give us a like and share. Really. We'll see, we're watching our RSI coming out the neutral zone. So, yeah, it'd be nice to see a little push up, kind of rare direction. But yeah, again, on the opens, you always get a push down either way. Let's go good. So, and we've got some hidden. Doesn't yet. 5 candles.
Soaring energy prices and a short supply of key chemicals that produce synthetic fertilizers are sending pig, cow and horse manure prices soaring. Even human waste is in demand as farmers hunt for alternatives. Fertilizer helps increase crop yields.
You can see how much moisture is held into this. It's a lot of organic material into the compost. So it breaks down, the manure and the straw breaks down into a friable mix that can be...
Minutes ago. What's the price action here? Looking like it wants to drop back down to the neutral zone, so we'll get a drop and then...
it really increases the kind of biodynamic.
So if you're trading the pattern, you know what you're... Again, not giving financial advice out, obviously this is just purely entertainment. There we go, nice grey candle forming.
Front row, exclusive interviews with the most influential figures in finance. Lloyd Blankfein.
Deflation is a terrible thing. Inflation you could tolerate.
Nice rejection of
Tesla
that.
will be in the pole position to dominate.
Jeremy Grantham.
We've had a very, very abnormal honeymoon Goldilocks period.
First available on the Bloomberg terminal, then on Bloomberg Television and Bloomberg.com. Front row, the best seats in the house for business's greatest minds.
In crypto, you have a world of young people that want their own financial system
Neutral.
And their own culture.
We're open.
And it is very
fly around and see where we can jump in.
And I'm a big believer in it.
It's really a reminder, isn't it, just how sensitive the markets are to any commentary about trade. We did see some pressure on the yuan, we did see some pressure on the futures.
We've got a nice area of support here as well.
"25 seconds away from the opening bow this morning. Good morning. This Wednesday morning, a bounce. Can we call this a quieter one? For now we can. Up 30 on the S&P, advancing 0.7% onto the Nasdaq. Up almost 130, up by 0.9%. From New York City, with your opening bow ringing right now, switch at the board and get to the bond market. Your 10-year yield, a little bit higher today, up 3 basis points. The curve just a little bit flatter, 196.50.
Hey, we're in and out. Brilliant, brilliant. Took the buy. Excellent.
I'll get to the trading diary.
Took the buy, in and out on that. Got that spike. What did I get? $3, $2.95. There you go. First trade of the day. Go.
We're up there by a little more than 1/10%.
There we go. 2 trades, buys on the open, done in 1 minute and 3 seconds there. $2.95. Do for a nice start.
A little bit better than expected outlook. Analysts are saying that even for bulls on the street, that this was a better print here, targeting double-digit adjusted operating income and positive industrial
Let's watch. See, I'm going to wait for green. If we get some green, we can go back in. Yeah, it's just on this resistance, so you've got to be careful of that. See there. Zoom in.
This is a company that designs, manufactures emissions control and ride control products for the auto industry. Activision Blizzard, again, our chief gaming correspondent, Romain Bostic, says that delaying games is never a good sign. Change up the board. Let's go broader out to some of the big tech companies that we're talking about.
Because I
know that you're going to talk a lot about Facebook, but this is a stock, John, that is down 47% from the peak in September and about 40% this year alone. So it is nowhere near a $300 stock that we had earlier this year. As you can see there, you're at a $200 stock. Apple, again, off 10% from the peak in January.
It was that first 15 minutes we
off 20%
looked to
from last
jump in on
July's
that.
So here you're trying to get a little bit of a bounce, but we have a long ways to go.
Some of the single name destruction has been absolutely terrifying for the likes of Meta and Facebook. Taylor, thank you. Looking forward to the program after the close a little bit later with Taylor Riggs, Caroline Hyde and Romain Bostic. Bank of America and Savita Subramanian breaking it down like this. Here's the quote. The fate of tech is far more important for the S&P than geopolitics. The S&P's direct exposure to Russian sales is 0.1%. but information technology and communication services are close to record weights.
Up again.
37%. Back with us, Aaron
Well,
Brown.
just close on the open candle.
Clinton Warren.
Yep.
Tony, we've done some real destruction in big tech for some big names.
Brilliant.
We mentioned
In and out again. What did I get there? Another 50 cents. So $3.41 on the buy there. Look at that. Beautiful. Go again.
So it's not just the big
settles. Look at that. It's going the way. Beautiful.
Innovative, disruptive
Side's going to hit that level though. Be careful because I already retested it here. Look. Tempted to jump in too quick. Wait till the RSI comes through our average line now.
The small cap value index
See here, broke it, bounced off it, could bounce off it again.
So there's a real bear market going
Say this.
And so it's certainly time for investors to start picking through the wreckage. Now there are some companies that deserve to be in that.
Took some wins as well. It's great.
Publicly traded business plans. And that was part of some of the froth we saw with very easy money. But there's some really great companies that are growing fast. They're disrupting industries, and they're going to become highly valued. That's an opportunity for stock pickers to go looking through the wreckage there.
Tony, I understand the reluctance to name them, but can you describe them? Just give us a better idea of how you find them.
Yeah.
So good because we're getting up to 5%
already. You don't want to be buying business plans. You want to buy companies that actually have real profits.
Just wick back down again. I'm not saying you should sell. I'm just saying just wait because you're right on this level.
Those are the kinds of companies you want to go after. And what you want to do is you want to have a long-term view, so that
because it could bounce, like I say, off our average
start to look like
60.
Attractively valued.
Need to be waiting.
That you want to go after.
We know we're looking to form this double top. We'll retest this area here tonight. Drop down, bounce off.
I think that's right. I mean, the tech sector is 37% of the revenues for the market, and so that is going to be a significant driver.
AG line as well.
500 going forward. We've had a really dramatic move in real yields over the last few months. It's been about 70 basis point move higher in real yields, and so that is going to take the froth out of unprofitable companies. And so you've seen that really happen in much of the growth index. But I do think
there. What did we get there? 62. Yay! Another 62 pence, which is nearly $1. I'm up to $4.25 now. There you go. That's 5 trades taken. All within 5 minutes. Getting there. We're getting up towards 5%.
A little bit calmer about what the Fed intentions
Again, just watch that wick down.
Of the removal of accommodation. I do think that you will start to see money flow back into
8 seconds for this candle to finish.
And particularly, profitable tech sectors.
And potentially flow away from energy, which is where the big story's been, up more than 20% year to date on that segment, that industry group. Tony, that doesn't move the dial for the headline index. For the S&P, the weightings of energy, looking at the Bloomberg right now, the member weightings on an industry basis, 3.5%.
See if it backs off this RSI or breaks through it.
Tony, you've made the point, and I think it's an important one, that ironically ESG issues have actually helped that segment, not hurt it. Tony, why?
Well, so it's 2 issues. It's not just ESG, but one issue has been that oil has been in a recession since 2014. Right? We overbuilt, we spent too much money on CapEx, and therefore oil prices dropped and companies stopped spending. And there's a long-term memory there that investors are telling companies, don't invest, give us back the cash. So that's part of the story. That's constricting supply. Then you add on to that sustainability concerns, right? The fact that we know that there is an eventual end to oil consumption. I think there's a debate about the time frame, but we know that there's an eventual end.
Excellent.
Again,
look at that. Beautiful. And we got another 58 and 58. So we're $5.83. Go. So we're over 5% already.
We're at an all-time low for discoveries this year.
Most traders only look for 1 to 2% return. There we go. So there's my trades on the open. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're $5.83. And we're $132.14. It's all within 7 minutes. Love it.
Clinton, I want to give the final word just on energy. The final word.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, clients are underallocated to the energy complex. If you look at portfolios,
now it's forming that pattern. Look, I came out because it's going to hit that points of interest and bounce down.
being here in
Let's
Dallas,
watch
we have
this.
a lot of clients that are owners and operators throughout the energy sector.
Size 67.
And unfortunately, we have not seen a lot of rig count increase.
Aggressive, you could go in again
Tony's point, supply has
and wait now to see if it hits that 75 level.
That would have been,
You've got about 5 pips, that's all. Or it's going to do a
to Tony's other point,
pullback. Say this is the pattern we want to follow.
And I will say it is an interesting
It doesn't necessarily going to come back to that neutral support.
So hopefully that's
I think at the moment, the way the news is, this could be just a short second leg.
Unfortunately, clients aren't as exposed to energy and haven't benefited from these.
But this could be a big center, and the resistance is going to come from our points of interest and a trend line.
The equity market up 0.7% on the S&P, the Nasdaq up 0.8%. 7 or 8 minutes into the session, the retailers closing
Basically,
out earnings season. This is what we heard from the Lowe's CEO, Marvin Ellison,
Take
said the
profit,
following:
$9.70.
the long-term strength
Well
of the home
done.
improvement market and our ability to expand operating margins. The latter point, Kaylee Lyons, the important point.
Yeah, that's the critical point, John, because this is a very different story for Lowe's than it was for their rival Home Depot yesterday, where concern around disappointing margins actually took that stock down for the worst day since 2020. Lowe's, on the other hand, after a beat and raise quarter, beating on the margin front, is higher by the better part of 4%. So it seems to be faring better on productivity and profitability than Home Depot is. And as for the other retailers that reported this morning, Overstock.com
Pulled back right off my take profit.
34%.
1903.17.
Margin as well as profit, but it's a move to the downside for TJX, lower by about 6.5%. It missed expectations, said it won't provide full year earnings guidance given the uncertainty around how long elevated expense pressures may persist. So that's the point of the story, John. It all comes down to those cost pressures and the ability to pass on those costs.
Then it would pull back RSI 68,
this may be
67.
the low bar for margins at this point. It may be the low water mark. Margins are expected to expand according to BI throughout the remainder of the year from the 6.2 level they have shrunk to at the moment. That outlook, though, has not done much to aid sentiment.
You can see where it wants to get back to. Breaks our blue zone. Look, then we're back to our breakout. We're back up to 1905.
Broader index with a decline of more than 14%. Only communication services has fared just fractionally.
To get to 1904.
Let's work through this issue together. And Kelly, thank you, by the way. Erin Brown, when you look at the step up that Kelly Lyons just painted for us, that picture for 2022, how much faith do you have in the step up, the improvement for margins as the year progresses?
I think it really comes
You're
down
right close to
which
points of
companies and which sectors you're
trend
talking
line.
about.
Everything.
And we heard
Just need to wait.
through the fourth quarter earnings season, where some companies are
Basically got 10 pips to the top side.
to take margins higher and be able to pass through those costs to the end consumer. Where we're starting to see pressure and real differentiation, though, is in the lower end consumer, which is getting squeezed from the end of the child tax credit, from the end of stimulus payments, and as a result is having a little bit of pushback now with respect to higher costs. And so you're really going to start to see this play out in markets this year, where I think, particularly in the consumer sector, those consumer companies that are exposed to the higher end consumer are going to be able to continue to show strong profitability and margin expansion, whereas those that are really exposed more to the lower end consumer, I think are going to start to have trouble in terms of passing through that pricing.
Clinton, would you break it down in the same way?
Yeah, I mean, throughout 2021, a lot of the clients that we have at JP Morgan, they saw an increased amount of cost, labor, inputs, et cetera, and they were able to pass it on to the end consumer. However, you're starting to see that kind of break down in 2022 as prices have skyrocketed and consumers are starting to move with their feet. So I think a lot of people have not priced in the margin compression that we're going to see in 2022, which will lead to muted returns and lower earnings than I think a lot of people have previously expected.
Tony, final word on margins. The final word's yours.
Yeah, so I have two perspectives. One's a macro and one's a micro. On a macro perspective, we have two forces. One is operating.
Bit of a wait now.
Revenue's very
69.
strong. Good
Back up.
operating leverage.
Say it's dangerous to take a buy now because you're right on a.
So those are
Coming up to resistance zone.
And we see them at least balancing each other, maybe some actually upside to margins because the operating leverage is so strong.
Yeah, well,
on a company-specific basis, it's all about pricing power. Does the company have pricing power? To
size now
pass
dip
along
65. You see, look,
so
really get a bounce of our KG.
Stock selection issue. I think there's an increasing opportunity in companies that can pass it along, but with a lag. And so we're looking through companies where we've seen margin squeezes to say, okay, is this temporary or is this more permanent? and we're trying to take advantage of the companies where we see it as being temporary.
And
so I think
pips.
that's the task ahead
Oh,
for stock pickers.
blue.
Some issues we can work through throughout the whole of 22. Tony, thank you as always. Tony DeSpirito,
2
Eric
minutes
Brown,
to this
and
candle.
Clinton Warren. Thank you very much to the three of you. About
The
12
RSI
minutes
going to
into the
break
next
through.
session,
Tesla.
here this Wednesday, up 0.6% on the S&P, and the Nasdaq up 0.8%.
Bit on this.
Up next, coming up, the White House taking new measures to tackle supply chain issues.
Almost exactly a year ago, I issued an
1440
to prioritize strengthening our domestic supply chain.
That's next. This is Bloomberg.
Nice pattern fall. Beautiful, beautiful, got it. Yes, we got 67.87. Brilliant, we got another $2 just on that little move. Beautiful, we're up to $8 now, so $10, and we're nearly at 10%, and we've only been trading 15 minutes. There you go. Well, like I say, the whole point is the percentage, because it depends how much money you've got in your account, but that's how you can get in, get out, do your trading in, we're going to be here for an hour max. That's what you need to be doing. You don't need to be holding long trades, panicking, checking your charts every single day and adjusting and just watch that price action. I watched it bounce off our flat KG low. When I see it flat here, look, I know that is a good support. See, respected on the line, and that's respected as well. So we done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trades now. See? This. 9 trades, all winners, and we're $8 is getting on, getting away, getting close. Now, what's going to happen here? I was going to have a break.
Balinese people here really hope they can see more people from Australia, China, and Europe to come visit next year.
Nice rejection. Wants to go higher. So now, if you want to be really safe, you wait till the RSI peaks into 75 zone. Sell would only be down to the base level. Get out and wait, and then sell again. Goes down. Next point of it. Okay, we're forming this second leg. On the way, I drew the pattern quite nicely. Pattern, trend line. Right on.
Almost exactly a year ago, I issued an executive order to prioritize strengthening our domestic supply chain. If I was going to follow
huge spike up
commitment to say we were going to make it in America and build it in America, we needed a supply
So it's going to break it. It's come back down. Look, back off in the blue zone.
On supply chains, with the administration announcing fresh measures to ease congestion, the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, saying this: "We're proud to announce this funding to help ports improve their infrastructure, to get goods moving more efficiently and help keep costs under control for American families." Emily Wilkins with us now from DC. Emily, the big effort continues.
Brilliant. Got in there, got in and out. 2 sales there. Got 29 and 27, so up to $8.68. Again, why did I take the sell? Because of the rejection out of the blue zone. No, on our axe trading system. time to take the trade. End the trade or take the trade, you know, depending on where price action is. So that was a good one. And like you say, our points of interest line has held up. Look, spike up to the blue zone, cracked, got 2 sells in there really quick.
This is just another part of that effort.
Do quite nicely. Let's see, next candle forming. Here we go.
As well as inflation,
One going to break.
is a major
The
problem
one
for them
wants
now.
to take it.
It's a major problem for a number of Americans.
Right.
And if it doesn't get dressed by the end of the year, could wind
Pull
up
back.
really hurting the chances for Democrats to hold on to the House and the Senate in the midterm.
The kind of no man.
Challenge for corporate
9.
America as well.
Excuse me.
Wilkins. Carrier Global just had their Investor Day. I'm pleased to say that joining us first here on Bloomberg this morning is the Carrier Global Chairman and CEO, David Gitlin. David, great to catch up with you, sir. Let's just start right here. 2 years as an independent company, this year outside of United Technology. Has that independence given you an advantage to tackle issues like the one we're talking about on programs like this every single day?
100%, Jonathan. Thanks for having me this morning. Yeah, you know, the spin from UTC has been a complete new lease on life for Carrier. We think of ourselves as a 100-year-old startup. Willis Carrier invented modern air conditioning more than a century ago, but we have the energy and the focus of a startup. So we've been very focused on growth, margin expansion, and really cleaning up our balance sheet so we can play offense on M&A. And we've done all of those. Last year, we grew 15%.
Is there the rejection look?
High single digits. Last year, we expanded margins 80 bips. This year,
Down.
75 bips is what we expect. And when we spun from UTC less than 2 years ago, we had $10 billion of net debt. Today, we sit here
67 is a bit of bounce.
Net debt. So we're
65.
playing offense on M&A. We announced the acquisition of Toshiba's HVAC business. We increased our dividend 25% this year. We announced a $1.6 billion buyback program, and we have more firepower to continue to play offense on M&A.
So, Dave, let's talk about that offense then. Debt load down, offense on M&A, and you mentioned the capital returns plan too. Can you walk me through how you balance the two? When you think about that extra money you've got is reduce the debt, the balance between capital returns, M&A, and investing in the company.
Well, our debt's now in great shape. You know, our multiple went from 3.5 debt to EBITDA. We're now close to, we're about 2. So in terms of our investment grade and our debt, we're in great situation. We've increased the dividend 25%.
2 sales off that.
Priorities in order are organic
23 and 47, so we're $9.63 now.
Share buyback. So it's always a balance. We're really focused. We've increased our pipeline on M&A. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but we will be patient, and we know that the right deal on the right terms.
Broke that line, look, as you can see.
We'll
it's going to go to that boom.
And if the right deals don't come along, we'll increase our buyback program.
Dave, as you know, demand is there, but meeting that demand.
Nope, 18 seconds to go.
Look across 3 buckets.
Get to that blue zone.
We can talk about logistics, raw materials, and labor. Are you happy to say you've seen the worst in any of them?
Well, in some respects, well, yes, in the sense that what we've assumed for 2022
Our size 71, like I said, limited highs at 75.
It continues through the rest of the year,
and
we've seen it in all of those.
And there's the bounce up.
Costs remain very, very high. Just getting cargo
blue
from
zone.
Shanghai to LA has been expensive for a long time, and it remains expensive. And we've
Great
assumed
spike.
that it stays at very elevated levels for the rest of the year. Raw material, we're hedged about 70% on copper, steel, and aluminum. So I think we're balanced in terms of where those
Bright
are.
green.
They're at elevated levels.
Flashed up for the
They
buy.
stay at those elevated levels for the rest of the year. Labor
It
is
is
primarily a challenge in the
pull
United
back from
States. So we've had to take some discrete actions, but we think we're calibrated on that. And the rest of the year, I think for the rest of the world, I think we're fairly calibrated.
On that.
Yeah. Just a little bit more. It's on page 5 of your Investor Day
dollar on that.
Just breaks down the key data points for the company. Really simple stuff. 58,000 employees, 160 plus countries. You just mentioned there, Dave, the labor issue was
Got 135, 18, and 34. I'm up to $12.17 now, so I've done 10%.
It is.
If there's any more,
right now. I mean,
see if we can get any more.
More than 70% of our employees are actually outside the United States.
Nice rejection of the blue zone.
We've seen the biggest
we're looking
some of the retention issues have been in the United States.
Second leg M. Or I don't know how severe. Break above us. This is heavy resistance. It's hit that heavy resistance.
Some of the attrition issues
buffer.
related to COVID have now gotten to very low levels. So that's very encouraging news. But, you know, we've been working with our workforce in the United States. We've been adding a lot of jobs.
Really flashed for like 1 second. And then
we've been significantly adding salespeople and digital. So a lot of great high-paid jobs in the United States. But I will tell you that attrition and retention issues do remain a challenge here.
Slide 11 was a slide that jumped out for me, and forgive me for going through slide by slide here, but
Leaves
Dave,
any-
just on the cold chain transformation, it's pretty obvious to me that you're not just a victim of the supply chain, you actually benefit from it as well. Are you seeing people put more money, invest more into the supply chain, not just wait for things to unclog, but invest more in it, that you're benefiting from that trend too?
Oh, 100%. You know, you look at what we do is cold chain
There's
distribution.
another
50% of vaccines, they never get administered, in part due to issues with the cold chain.
38 and 23. So with $13 now, exactly $13.
Issues associated with the supply chain. So
Scalping
companies
away.
are willing to spend more to improve
Flashing
the
around.
efficacy and prevent any of these excursions that happen. They're a big deal, you know, for human on a human level. They're a big deal on a financial level. They're a big deal on a sustainability
RSI
level.
kinks
You look
down.
at
Let's see
all
if we can get
of
in
the
again.
energy that goes into producing food that never gets consumed. If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases.
Dave, those
So
numbers
yes,
are nuts.
companies willing to spend more. Yeah.
They are nuts. And I want to finish on this, though, the calendar. You mentioned that at some point you have to decide between making an acquisition or handing that money back over to investors. For 22, where on the calendar do you make that decision?
We'll be balanced as we go through the year. There's no set point in time, you know, Jonathan. We closed on a divestiture just a month ago, so we have plenty of cash on the balance sheet. We're looking at acquisitions now, and we'll continue to play that out as we go through this year into next year.
Hey, Dave, wonderful to catch up.
Formed another zone up there at the top.
Yeah, heavy resistance. Heavy time.
And CEO of Carrier. Almost called him the Chariot. Anyway, coming up, the market moving events you need to be watching. That'll be next in our Trading Diaries. From New York, this is Bloomberg.
Dipped. Bomb. Amazing how it's followed the pattern perfectly. I want to get a retest of that KG line, you see, that's why. Okay, double resistance.
Access the financial world on demand. Hear from leading economists, policymakers, and industry experts via live and on-demand webinars. Only from
21 still.
Start exploring to see what's moving the market.
Back in blue zone again, sort of thing.
Visit Bloomberg.com webinars.
Well, took another 2 sells there. I'll try another dollar, $14.06. So we're well over 10%.
Because Scalper
now.
is doing much better than the rest of the industry. In fact, we are at the moment growing at
Any pullbacks here? Red now. RSI 68. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7,
I was just reminded the
8,
most
20. 20 trades, that means I've only got 4 to go.
4,400 on the S&P right now, 43.20, just south of that.
Been scalping literally just under 30 minutes.
Up a third of 1% as well.
568.
Let's talk about an equity market that looks like this and a bond market that takes shapes as follows. Yields on 10s right now. Going to show them? There we are, 198.95. On 2s, 159.76. Here's your trading diary. The US Treasury auctioning 53 billion of 5-year notes at 1 p.m. Fed President Mary Daly speaks at 3:30. GDP on Thursday, more Fed speak. Barkin, Bostic, Mester, Daly, and Waller. And finally closing out the week with some spending data. From New York, this was the countdown to the open. This
When we trade so far, $14. Proper true scalping there, and we're all good so far. Like I said, Don't need to really trade anymore. We're now well over 10% for the day. See if the wait for that second leg. Heavy resistance. Yes, Dad.
What do you think is the impact of the Prime Minister on the market?
As Mr. Suzuki, who is the Financial Services Minister, he mentioned at his own press conference, and share buybacks is widely used to return profits to shareholders. And
even if it goes 75, it's dangerous to take a buy here on this instant. You know it's going to have a little pullback before
of each company after carefully taking all the stakeholders into consideration. And I believe Mr. Kishida has a quite cautious stance on the uniform regulation of share buybacks. And I think because he is giving a consideration to each company's individual circumstance and decisions.
Nice candle. Gonna get a re-entry on the buys. Beautiful, look at this. 1906. Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
The capital markets can really
lead to leg would be extended. 1907. Perfect.
In that is ESG is now the buzzword literally everywhere.
It is definitely the topic of conversation in most meetings I have with company CEOs, with investors.
I've done another dollar on that.
Industry groups. It's amazing.
Straight in on the RSI. I we know once it gets to 885, we'll look at the drop. Once again.
Pepsi's No Fever campaign in the Philippines has probably gone down in history as one of the biggest marketing disasters in history, mainly because of a human error that led Pepsi to print more winning caps than they...
We're trading 30 minutes now, so 21 trades, 21 winners. Wait to see if we can get in again on this. RSI told us to buy there. Now we're going to need a back. $70. Yeah, you got a dollar there. Now, $15.15 now for the day. Up. 9. Remember what you can see here, look, historically, look back, you can see it got to 5 and then dropped. Good position here, get some more sales in, gets up 7. Tension, followed up pretty well, easily well. And trend line back down.
$1 million pesos or $68,000 doesn't sound like a lot now, but in 1992,
Can he buy while it's in this zone?
You've got to remember that in the Philippines at the time, the average monthly income was about $100. So $1 million pesos was wealth beyond anyone's wildest imaginations. Number fever caught fire in the Philippines. Kids were saving up their pocket money to buy a bottle of Pepsi. Parents were squirreling away all of the bottle caps in bags. You would walk down the street and people were going through trash trying to find discarded bottle caps. It was a national phenomenon. Pepsi boasted that half the population of the Philippines was playing it. Number fever boosted Pepsi's sales every month from $10 million to $14 million. It had a huge impact on Pepsi's bottom line. Number fever quickly became number hysteria.
7.
Maids were being jailed for stealing their employers'
Back at RSI, look. 86.
some murders over winning bottle caps. People were fighting in the streets over these caps. There were signs that there were going to be problems with number fever very early. Pepsi had rolled out the competition in Chile, and a garbled fax had caused some kind of problem with the winning number. They'd announced the wrong one in Chile,
It gets to this.
causing riots. There were signs that there could be big problems ahead if they didn't keep their eye on the ball. So in 1992, Pepsi decided to extend the campaign in the Philippines.
Zoom out, look, you can see.
The competition would go on for a few more weeks. One night, on the
Tested the next level backstage. The good thing about the axe, they redraw zones breaking.
in earlier campaigns. So there were literally hundreds of thousands of bottle caps with 349 just floating around the Philippines.
We're not going to get there yet, I think.
All across the Philippines, thousands of islands
Beware.
finding winning bottle caps. 349, 349. Some people had 10 lucky 349 bottle caps. People were dancing in
Flat,
the streets.
flat part of the KG line there, look, 1901.
They were millionaires. It's still not certain exactly how many winners there were of lucky 349
Makes sense.
bottle caps, but we know that Pepsi printed over 600,000 of them. Pepsi realized very early that there was a problem. Hundreds of people started arriving at their bottling.
And if you're in sales here,
They realized something
extension,
was seriously wrong.
EP's
Pepsi tried to
own
solve the problem by offering a small token donation to anyone that
82. All you got to do is just wait for the. Like I say, if you see a nice V kink as well.
people didn't want
I mean,
just a handful of pesos.
that was one there.
$1 million peso prize. Within a
Hey,
year,
back up.
violent
Anything.
protests and riots outside
Mountain.
Pepsi factories would leave
Getting on.
dozens injured and 5 people dead. At one Pepsi factory
Forming
in
one.
the Philippines,
They'd run
a grenade was thrown through the window.
on a blue zone.
Killed
So for me, when we see these blue zones on the axe trading system, if I was in a buy and you guys were in a buy, that's where I'd end it. Respected distance zone. These can repaint. Holds. No chance. Good look. Back. In conjunction with the RS. No, look, it's back. If I'm in a buy, then I'd be taking.
When I was in the Philippines,
I know.
I tracked down Anasita's daughter,
Keeps you on the right side.
her husband Raul.
Why go, oh, it's going to disappear, I'll just hold on there.
You know, a family had been ripped apart by this competition. And Raul told me that he'd never remarried. He'd told me that he'd gone to meet Pepsi executives after his wife was killed. And he was angry. He said to them, you know, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. If it wasn't for number 4. The biggest revelation from my reporting was rumors that Pepsi
60,
was somehow involved
nearly a dollar again. We're up to $16.06. in. Why did I jump in? Because of the evidence of the on the eye. I'm not greedy. 16 is we're up to like 18, like 12% today. Pray from that really. So we're trying to say to most people, get to that level, you know, walk away. Done.
The contest had sparked so much anger in the Philippines because it landed at just this really weird time in the Philippines history. It was during a crazy election that was
Reopen fire after sanctions.
The Philippines was in a kind of love-hate relationship with America. They loved, obviously, the American aid and finances that was pouring into the country, but at the same time they yearned for independence. They wanted to be their own country. Vicente Del Fierro was a local preacher living in Manila, and he hated the number fever campaign. Del Fierro thought Pepsi's number fever campaign was one of the many ways that America was asserting its dominance over a third world country. He hated seeing his fellow countrymen get ripped off in his by this huge multinational American company. He wanted justice.
Not to notice little patterns like this. Bars coming out the there, we either wait for it to pop back in, wait for it to average into the sell zone, aggressive sell. The breaks here. Been green for so long. Look at this. Lots of hidden divergence, which is a continuation. Obviously, they both panned out. Taking a buy there and a buy here. And overall, look at that. Very green, minor. Would due a correction beforeration up. Not going to be anything major on a bigger time. What we're trading, it's enough. Grabbers, yeah. 6. I want to see it finish and curl like this and go back in. Zone. We'll go another 10 minutes or so. To show you, we've been scalping for just over 30, well, about 40 minutes, and we've already hit 12% achieved. Your daily target if you're doing a compounding plan. Whole thing about the X trading system. Be trading a now we're going to get a buy above the extension to extension. For that, we're going to see some red on that RSI. Then put sells in if you are in a sell. Back to you because we're continuation against distance. You see that it's spiking down.
Spiking up.
I told you it would get back to 9:04 morning. Great.
Mm-hmm.
They were very careful to say that they were sorry for everything that happened, and we do know that Pepsi did try everything to try and make this.
Out, that was good.
The Pepsi number fever disaster cost the company
1904.62. 200.
much greater. After the disaster, we know that Pepsi sales dipped. They were overtaken by Coca-Cola again. Pepsi's number fever disaster changed the legacy of that soft drink in the Philippines forever. Some people of a certain age won't touch it. For many people, Pepsi
rejection. See, the candles are losing strength. You had nice 3, 4, real nice breakout candle, 3 weaker candle down. Again, it can only come back down here. Hopefully retail get some start up. Finally crosses our average 69, then we're at 50%. See if this is a correction we had here, you know, against thinking buying gold, buy, but look at a few minor corrections. 100, a surprise. Just everything. Nice W, look, nice big M. Look at that. Another W there. Small M. Keep looking for the patterns. Drop. That. That spike down. $1.11 and 29. Dip down even more. So we finished 14% for the day. So well happy with that. Back top. Sit on this support and shoot back up, or is this the second? Red. 9, look at that. Following up.
My name is Ike Henning. I'm a reporter with Bloomberg News, and I'm a great fan of Dortmund. Dortmund fans are super loyal. On all match days, the entire city is in black and yellow. It's like a religion. I think more than most.
There you got to think there's been no red for.
Soccer does play a very large role in the identity of Dortmund. In October of 2000, the BVB was the first in the Bundesliga to actually go public. Salaries for soccer players in the Bundesliga have gone up very dramatically. With such high prices, they thought that by going public, they would be able to compete better with big teams like Munich. Unfortunately, that didn't go too well. Dortmund bought too many expensive players, high wages, and the club almost went bust in 2005. The price of their shares has sometimes gone up, but mostly gone down since they made that decision. So on April 11th, 2017, the team was staying in a hotel on the outskirts of Dortmund. Match days are always special in Dortmund. Everyone is looking forward to it. The team always meets in the same hotel ahead of matches. They stayed in this hotel in order to have a kind of neutral space before games so that they could concentrate, be sort of isolated from distractions, things like that. Everyone was pretty optimistic. They had a chance to go really far, maybe into the.
Well, look at US 30.
I was in the office and
Beautiful.
ready for match day. Was going to meet with a friend.
They made me laugh out. You say on Wall Street opens higher after modest sanction. Go to the it and There's the open. What I mean, this is why. $30 for you.
When the bus took off the parking lot of the hotel and turned on the street,
Futures in.
three detonations,
You're open.
that exploded and hit the bus.
No way you would be making a buy on that. It's in our zone that we like to trade. This is cross trend lines. We know that once price breaks either above or below this wedge, that we're going to get a big move.
The fellow Dortmund fan I was supposed to watch the match with, he called me and said, turn on the TV, there was an attack of the Dortmund bus, and I thought he was like, that was impossible. Some of the players screamed at the driver to keep driving as fast as possible because they were worried that people might storm the bus. German investigators
Actually a nice M on it, look, beautiful pattern. Head against it twice. Look at that, you got a sell on the open, a sell as it broke the zone, a sell here. So 3 positions of got one of them gone in the open there, gone in, broke the zone, got in side. See what I mean? When it gets to that 15, I'd be looking nice. Oh, if it's going to pull. It breaks its zone, obviously we'll go down for send to the group so someone can follow it. I'm not trading that because I haven't got a big account on this live challenge, but see that for nice W pattern. The top there, get back, either the end. Possible. Is ever set in stone. Watch that. Gold meanwhile is ranging on the top, banging its head against this. And we know historically what happens. It's bouncing against blue zone. Crosses up. Trying to fight the extension zone, and this was bought and then system up to its key level. Still waiting.
Something isn't right here. For the person to make money off of that, it required the stock to go down quite a bit in a fairly short period of time. And it wouldn't just be the team losing a match, it would require something much bigger than that. There was another big red flag about this purchase, which is the fact that it had actually been made, number one, on the day of the bombing, but also from an IP address that had been traced to the actual hotel where the bombing had taken place.
When 3 explosions targeted the bus carrying the Borussia Dortmund footballers on April the 11th, written notes left at the scene claimed the attack was the work of ISIL. The truth, as is now alleged, is remarkable.
On April 21st, the police arrested a man in a southern German city called Tübingen. He was on his way to work, and his name was Sergei Benagold. The suspect, because he had no known connections to the Islamic terror world, he didn't seem like a far-right extremist. He didn't seem like a left-wing extremist either. He seemed to be
well, finding a hole to them. Well, wait, we've got a nice arrow pointing up. We've got a blue zone here. Another flat. This is the last decent flat of our KG. Expect price to at least come back down to this blue zone. Potential of a sell there. Then we're going to go another 8 minutes or so, so we'll do an hour's live stream. And like I say, best part of 15% up for the day. It's been a great day. We've achieved our goal of 10%, which is what we're all about. 5 to 10%, to be honest with you. As most people say, you can't achieve that. We've just gone live. Stick with 1% for 30 years. Increase your account. But it's all to do with the system. With the system having the confidence. Right. So simple that.
Ultimately, the plan completely backfired. The attacker Sergei Venegold didn't make
Not in the same. I'm against decent. And you gotta out. I'm gonna check. See. Formed this. Price is going to go is up here. Yeah. Nearly 56.
Back up, and it didn't quite help them to kind of process what was going on. Throughout it all, he sat there completely silent. The big mystery that was swirling around the trial was the question of why he may have simply done it because he wanted to impress a woman. Rebecca is a young woman who has a very troubled home life. She ultimately sees her relationship with Venergold as an opportunity to leave that troubled home. Venergold is a Russian immigrant to Germany. He speaks with an accent. He has anxiety in large groups of Germans. She begins to resent the fact that
I'm looking.
he has these fears and feels a little bit trapped. Rebecca attempts to dump him on multiple occasions, and he threatens to commit suicide if she leaves him. Venergold apparently told Rebecca that she would soon be seeing a surprise. After being punished via text message, he finally began planning for this attack in earnest. Venergold was charged with 28 counts of attempted murder, which carried a maximum sentence in Germany of life imprisonment. He claimed that he had nothing to do with the attack, but as time went on, he admitted that he had actually been the person who had built the explosives and had set them off. But he claimed that he didn't want to actually kill anybody. Ultimately, Venergold didn't receive the harshest possible sentence. He was
17.
in prison, but
Yeah, it's still trying to hit its head on its own.
It's waiting for the first bearish divergence. Yeah. I think there's been one look. Last divergence was like 6 o'clock, almost 24 hours ago. In English.
It should have been, if you look at those two peaks, it should have been on those two peaks right there. Because you got one higher on the RSI and one lower on the RSI. It should have had bearish divergence right there.
Might have flashed it.
But I don't think it's, yeah, but I don't think it's ready.
Take the world by cloud. Accenture. Let there be change.
These are very, very infrequent events. It's not zero, though.
A blinding flash of light streaking across the sky.
About 100 tons of space rock falls on Earth every day. Most of it is so small it burns up in our atmosphere or lands unnoticed away from major populations. No human in the past is known to have been killed by a meteorite. According to NASA, no large object is likely to strike the Earth at any time in the next several hundred years. However, one thing is certain. We haven't found them all.
There are thousands out there, and we don't know where they are.
might do is do another live stream tomorrow for the end of US session.
I should be around.
Yeah. Anything again as usual. Being used to weekly off, we've got our weekly continuing jobless claims. This is the one we look for, the continuing. We've got GDP growth rate. Again, this could all be overridden by the news and everything. Not Bank of England, they're looking for rate hikes again. Who's talking about it. Jobless claims continuing. Chicago Fed, we look at it. New home sales, and then it's the crude oil. Important this time, the gas. So the big trading gas. Then we've got some speeches. Okay, so good scalping could be a good time if we get go live for this. See if we can on Fed speak. Then Friday, the consumer confidence, which midnight. Inflation rate, medium at the moment. We'll ignore it all. Durable goods and personal income spending, spending says well, and of course our usual roundup. Michigan consumer sentiment. Feb on to end week on as we get ready for next week, because we know what next week is. Next week's NFP week again already. Comes around so quick. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
So quick. So we're gearing up for that and doing live streams. Crypto market. Look at that. Ooh. Quick look. Oil. Look at that. Hit that 95. Didn't break it. Back. I was the 96. And it wants to get up to 100. Possible. Look, multiple times here. As you see that peak on it, that means double whammy. The peak on the RSI, resistance of our blues. That's it. We'll be doing an hour. Like I say, we've successfully done 24 trades, all winners, and we're 12% up. So follow gold, and obviously I'm looking, waiting for sell when it happens. If it break here, look, it's banging its head against our zone. Looking to come back. Our blue here. Thanks to Justin for joining me again over in the US at morning.
Always.
Bro.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see how this plays out. I'll be with you again on the next live stream. Like I say, look out for us for tomorrow end New York session, tomorrow noon. Till then, trade safe. Most importantly, keep watching the news. Keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening. If you're a fundamental trader like us, to make sure you're well aware of what's going on and why gold is doing what it's doing at the moment, what it is in general. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Hit that like button, and like I say, go to the website www.Mohawk4x on how to join IP Discord group, access to our system, our membership program as well. So until
all links and socials are in the description.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Justin. And until next time, trade safe, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care.